morning. Good morning, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great this morning. I'm doing great.
Doing good.
December always starts out. It's like it felt pretty slow at first, but then all of a
hmm
sudden it gets going, and you're like, "Dang, Christmas is less than a week away," and you're just like, "Whoo!"
hmm
Good
I
morning,
hear you. It's
Deanna.
almost here, man.
Welcome,
It's
welcome.
almost here.
So thank you for
Oh,
everyone for joining us this morning, and here in this December morning. It's raining. It doesn't feel a lot like Christmas here in Ohio, in North Central Ohio. It's
yeah.
a storm. It's a storm out with rain. I mean,
Oh,
no,
really?
not snow, not snow.
But
So it's
is the
been
weather bad? Is it windy?
it's been a lot of wind this week. It's just been bizarre. It's been bizarre. But
I hear you.
we got lots of things to talk about other than the weather. How's Texas?
Actually, it's been cloudy and misty all week. It's supposed to rain today. Let me take a look. Not raining yet, but it's cloudy and misty.
Okay. Okay.
No, but it's been decent weather. I mean, like temperature wise,
hmm
but it's been cloudy and misty out here, and supposed to be getting some rain today. I'm not sure we are or not, but man, this is the time of year where you don't know what's going to happen. Climate change is affecting everybody. Glaciers are melting. You have hurricane winds in the Midwest and tornadoes last week across the Midwest. It's crazy. You
There
never
was,
know what to expect right now.
I know. Well, we should talk about this now. Next week is Christmas Day. So this
Yeah,
is this is our last opportunity to hear you before Christmas. So we got Christmas Day, we got New Year's Day on Saturdays this year.
yeah,
So uh, we'll be on today. Next week
yeah.
we won't be on. We got Christmas Day.
hmm
We'll have to talk about New Year's, and maybe we can do another show at a different time. What do you think?
Sounds good to me. Let's just talk about it and find out what's good. I'm in limbo right now because I was planning on going out of town. I just come into Ohio, so now I'm not sure what's going to happen because the Ohio gathering has been canceled, and so
Oh, was it
I
COVID?
don't know. Well,
COVID related or
the
not?
the
Just
the fear of COVID.
okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, the I was going home, and family were all coming from all different parts of the country, and yesterday it was canceled. So I
So
don't know if we're still going or not, but we won't be having the gathering that we were going to have.
so you're gonna stay in Texas?
I just said I don't know yet. We were
Oh,
coming
okay.
home. We were going to go back to Cleveland, and we don't know yet. So we're
Okay.
going to see. We just found out last night that the gathering we were having is canceled.
hmm
So we're going to talk about it, and we may go back home anyway. So we may not have the gathering, but we may end up in Ohio anyway. I'm not sure yet.
Okay.
So this just
Okay.
happened last night, late last night. So we're still fumbling over
You're still trying to figure out what to do
logistics.
about Christmas then, huh?
Yeah,
Well,
man.
we'll
So,
probably have a quiet Christmas and we'll go to my parents' house a mile
mhm.
away, and we're going to my in-laws this afternoon, and
Okay.
my wife's got a big family, so we'll be gathering with them today. And
Okay.
anyway, so that's my Christmas
All right.
plans.
Yeah, we don't know exactly yet. We've been planning on this, so we're like in limbo right now.
Yeah.
We haven't had a chance to really put any concrete plans, secondary plans together yet. So
One of the things we that in the next show to think about is like a review of 2021. Here we are
yeah,
again at the end of the year. 2020 was such a monumental year. It
yeah,
was huge, and then so like 2021 still feels like an afterthought to me. It's like 2020 continued.
hmm
It's like the aftershocks of 2020. Because we still have COVID going on. We still talk about the election because it's people refuse to declare a winner and everything. So it just felt like a huge aftershock. So we're still dealing with a partial paralysis in our economy, um, and
yeah,
COVID is
man.
still out there. So it's been an interesting year. It's been a kind of a quiet year. It's been a year of change, but that's something to think about, and as we reflect on this past year.
Yeah, maybe
For
we'll
our next show,
yeah,
we have a year review maybe.
yeah, maybe we'll have some of our our audience here just give out some ideas that they some topics that what was on their memory list
Hmm.
from 2021. What were some of the stories that attracted their attention, or even whether it's a feel good, a bad, feel bad story, feel good story, motivational, encouraging, inspiring. You know, what was it that made them, that stood out for them for 2021?
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. So, what do you have this morning then, Mars? What do you got? What
What
do we
I
got
got,
going on? What do you got going on?
man, we have so
What are we going to
much,
talk
man.
about?
The texts, those text messages from January 6th,
Yeah,
that was a shocker, wasn't it?
that was pretty big. That kind of dominated the news all week, and rightly so. I think they were kind of interesting. I tuned into that. Um, I heard different commentaries about that and the reporting on that. Um,
Yeah,
that was pretty big. Calling out a lot of Fox News hosts and everything. So we're going to talk about that.
yeah,
The January 6th hearings.
yeah.
I
That
thought
was
that was very
interesting.
interesting.
Yeah, we got Rand Paul is a hypocrite. When you want to give Louisiana their money for weathers and storms and destruction down there, but yet Kentucky's under fire right now. Like big masses of land are like destroyed. He wants support to one of
Yeah,
the
I mean,
brokest cities in the. And you know what? I heard this also that Kentucky has gained. Kentucky, the three poorest Republican states have acquired more money than the whole country has put in. Because that money comes from different states. I mean, even areas like Washington D.C. and it's incredible.
what do you mean as far as the storm damage, or as far as
No, the
just in
money that
general?
goes
Just
into
in general,
the money that goes into the pot for this support.
disaster, the
Disasters
disaster money.
money,
Okay.
it comes from all over the country.
Yes.
And like, see, a city like Washington D.C., who doesn't have any voting, can't even, they're not even really considered a city, a city basically,
Yep.
you know,
Where's their
and
representation? Yeah.
they put in more money than these three poor states. Then they put in more money, and these states are getting more than these people are putting in.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying. Out of just DC, from what I was hearing yesterday. So I'm just saying that, like, places like Kentucky. So anyway, we'll talk more about that. It was just something that just popped in my head that I just heard
Hmm.
yesterday.
Hmm.
That was interesting. Yeah. So you got the TikTok challenge. You were I don't know too much about that. You were telling me about this just earlier today. Talk a little bit about that right quick.
Well, apparently throughout the week there was a viral challenge on TikTok. Is a lot of the times the TikTok challenges are funny or something less serious. But in this
Right.
case, it was shoot up your school day, and so
Yeah.
that kind of like spread from state to state all over the country. In it here in our little town, um, they had like half the police department at the school yesterday morning. All these kids were calling out because they thought something was going to happen at the school, and it just kind of angers me. It concerns me. It's just sad. It's just a sad state of affairs, that a threat can shut down schools all across the country.
Yeah.
Where are we as a country? And so I kind of have a lot of things to vent as far as that, and to hear. I want to hear from people out there about that. So,
Yeah. I see
um,
Texas schools were on alert yesterday. I didn't realize that.
yep, yep.
I had no idea, man. I told you my day was kind of busy yesterday. That one went right over my head.
You discovered a website that you can hire a hitman?
Yeah, man. It's they're in an investigation. They're looking at these people that are potential, not per se the hit men, but the people that were hiring the hit men. They're doing an investigation. I just came across a story this morning. I was still doing some look into it, but it looks like something that popped up and it alerted the authorities, and I got a little video on that we're gonna take a look at. I know it's a little lengthy, but we're not gonna probably look at the whole video, but just get the first couple of minutes in, so you get an idea of what we're talking about.
Yeah, Leanne and I live in the same town, same school district, and there was police all over campus, and
Yeah.
they were questioning people because a door was left open. So we're going to talk about that, and
You know,
so we had
I did,
Hitman, Hitman in the news. Go ahead.
and I got a comment about the TikTok video. Okay, yesterday I was out and about yesterday. I left work early, had to take care of some things,
Okay.
and I saw a lot of police out. And so I counted like 22 um,
Wow.
traffic stops between like in a say 25-mile distance. I saw 22, 23 stops. And I made a comment to my coworkers and they were saying, it's probably about the TikTok challenge.
Yeah, it's probably
I didn't know
was.
what
Probably was.
I didn't know what they were talking about.
Yeah.
So I was like, it was 23 stops. As I said, the cops are out big time today.
Were they making like
And
road stops? Like they would stop
these were
people
all
on?
road. Yeah, these are just stopped on the side road type stops. 23 of
Wow.
them. And so the guys are like, they're part of the TikTok challenge. And I'm like, I didn't know what they were talking about.
Yeah.
Now it all comes full circle. It makes sense now. Because like I
Mhm.
said, I was totally unaware of what they were talking about. I mean, I've
Mhm.
heard about these shooting threats previously, but I didn't know anything about particularly yesterday was going to be a big issue. I didn't know.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
Yeah.
Maybe some of you heard this week there was a Louisiana judge who was filmed in her house making some disparaging comments,
Yeah.
and it was interesting. It hit the news. Is this someone we want as a judge? She came out and made an excuse for it. So that's a topic for today.
Rand Paul. Yeah, Rand Paul in the story too, right? Let me see. Where are we at? That
We're with
later
the
on.
Louisiana judge.
Oh yeah, no, I was going to see the judge. Yeah, we talked about that for a second, and then you got Travis Hunter, shocked the world, going to Jackson State.
We have some sports news. The number one recruit out of high school going into college, Travis Hunter, was going to go to Florida State and
2-year commitment, over a year
and
commitment.
now
Yeah,
is going to Jackson State University in Mississippi, a HBCU institution. So that made news. That made a lot of ripples in the college football landscape. So we want to talk about that. It's very interesting. Deion Sanders is the head coach there, as many of you might know from his NFL fame. So I think that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah. And then COVID is ripping up the NFL.
It's bad. We were just looking at the list this morning before we got on, and like every team is affected. Every team, I think, has at least 5, and there's multiple teams that have like 20, over 20.
It's
And the
151 total.
3 NFL games have been postponed. So we want to talk about, the impact of that, and especially as we get ready for the playoffs. Should these games be played? That it's just going to spread more with these games going on. So why can't they just not play? Well, what would be the harm of just not playing?
Well, the flaw is testing. That's the issue. The issue is like Baker said, he was like, well, you let us come play, but you test us after we practice, right? You let us come to practice and you test us after the practice. Why didn't they test them the day before practice and the morning of practice?
Yep.
What's wrong with that?
When you come into the building, that's usually what, like if you work at a hospital or you work at a nursing home, they're going to test you or screen you before you walk in the door.
And everybody get there an hour early. You can test an hour early because you could do a rapid test in an hour or less.
Yep. So there's been some lax policy, I think, and this should change.
Yeah, all about the money, man. It's all about the money.
Urban Meyer is out in Jacksonville talking about money. He had 5 years? He didn't make it through the first season.
You
Good
know,
riddance. Good riddance.
Meyer being out is not a surprise.
No, it's not a
No,
surprise at all.
it was a surprise of why he was let go. That was my surprise. He got let go not because of the play on the field. He got let go because of
Mm.
stupidity. Because we see coaches all the time suck. Heck, look at Florida State. They just gave that dude an extension. He sucked. You know what I'm saying? Heck, he sucked for 2 years. Urban Meyer has lately completed a whole season.
No,
You know, and they let
it's
him go.
about more than what happened on the field. Certainly, yes,
Right. I mean, have
definitely.
you ever
That's
seen a
why he's
coach?
gone.
Have you ever seen a coach with a name fired in less than a year?
Nope,
No.
nope.
It's more. It's something. It's something else going on with Urban Meyer
Well,
that we don't know about.
there's a lot that we do know about.
No,
Uh,
no, but what we don't know about,
oh
because
sure, oh sure.
even with the stuff we do know about, we've seen coaches do much worse and still keep their job.
He's been a coach. Excuse me. Sorry. He's been a
Bless you.
coach
Bless you.
at a lot of different stops. So you mean to tell me all of a sudden he's a jerk? All of a sudden he's an ass? Because a lot of this stuff, um, if it's just I can't believe that none of this had ever come out before now. That's what I'm saying.
Well, you
So
want me to make
we're going
a?
to talk about that. That's going to be interesting.
Okay, yeah, we'll bring it up later. Okay, what else you got going on?
That's what we
What else you
got.
got?
That's what we got.
You got Kim Potter. She's on trial right now, and she took the stand yesterday. Um, that's an interesting case that's going on because you don't know how the jury's going to lean. She broke down on the stand yesterday, so we'll see. You know, we got a video of that, and we'll discuss some more about that. There was something else that we were talking about briefly. What was it? Was it something else we were talking about briefly before we came on the air?
No, that's
Yeah,
it.
another story. Oh, yeah, we talked about it already. That was the COVID issue with the NFL. That was the last thing we scrambled for at the end. Remember? So yeah. So let's jump into it, man. January 6th. What you got for us, man?
So January 6th, the hearings have happened here in Congress, and the one of the biggest things that made news in regards to that was Liz Cheney, who, let's face it, has a uh, mixed mixed reception from both people on both sides. However, in
Right.
this case, I couldn't help but cheer her on as she was just reading out these texts. And
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people out there probably have seen this and heard this, but I want to, it's only a couple minutes. I want to play it again, and then we'll react to it.
Members of Congress, the press, and others wrote to Mark Meadows as the attack was underway. One text Mr. Meadows received said, quote, "We are under siege here at the Capitol." Another, quote, "They have breached the Capitol." In a third, Mark, "Protesters are literally storming the Capitol, breaking windows on doors, rushing in. Is Trump going to say something?" A fourth, "There's an armed standoff at the House chamber door." And another from someone inside the Capitol, "We are all helpless." Dozens of texts, including from Trump administration officials, urged immediate action by the president. Quote, "POTUS has to come out firmly and tell the protesters to dissipate. Someone is going to get killed." In another, Mark, "He needs to stop this now." A third, in all caps, "Tell them to go home." A fourth, and I quote, "POTUS needs to calm this shit down." Indeed, according to the records, multiple Fox News hosts knew the president needed to act immediately. They texted Mr. Meadows, and he has turned over those texts. Quote, "Mark, The president needs to tell people in the Capitol to go home. This is hurting all of us. He is destroying his legacy, Laura Ingraham wrote. Please get him on TV. Destroying everything you have accomplished, Brian Kilmeade texted. Quote, can he make a statement? Ask people to leave the Capitol, Sean Hannity urged. As the violence continued, one of the president's sons texted Mr. Meadows, quote, he's got to condemn this shit ASAP. The Capitol Police tweet is not enough, Donald Trump Jr. texted. Meadows responded, quote, I'm pushing it hard, I agree. Still, President Trump did not immediately act.
Yeah, man.
Thank you
Ooh,
to PBS for that video. So these are Fox host news personalities that say one thing on air, that it wasn't a big deal, that it wasn't an insurrection, that the real story is elsewhere, and the real story, they deflect the real story. When behind the scenes, you see how they really feel about it, that it is a problem, that they needed to shut it down. Laura Ingraham, Brian Kilmeade, Sean Hannity, these are the people who every day want to appeal to Trump supporters and to Trump himself. And yet, behind the scenes, they know what it really was. They know what it really was. They've been called out. You there? Unmute yourself, sir.
I had to sneeze, man. I was like, wow, whatever you had, you sent it over my way. Whew. I was sneezing. I didn't want to be sniffing and snorting over the air, because like, man, that sneeze was, whew.
Well, Leanne says, what were Mark's replies? We need to hear from him.
Right,
maybe we will. Maybe we will after this came out. We did have that short text in reply. But
there is a. Go ahead.
But I think that he's going to have some. He's got some egg on his face as well too. So.
Well, we do have a reply here from the White House. What is it? What do you call that person that the press that does the press briefing? What's her name? Jen. Is it Pesky? Pesky. I never said her name. I never knew how to pronounce her last name. Psaki. What is it?
Jen Psaki. The P is silent.
Psaki, P is silent. Okay, Jen Psaki. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, she had a comment about the text message sent by Sean Hannity. I could play that right quick. I don't have anything from Mark Meadows or anyone that was involved in the text. They're pretty quiet right now, but I will. Here is a video of Jen Psaki with a response from the White House.
Passed and signed into law.
Last question. Any response to the revelations that that GOP lawmakers were texting Chief of Staff Meadows along with prominent Fox News hosts ahead of during the January 6 riots?
Well, it's disappointing and unfortunately not surprising that some of the very same individuals who are willing to warn, condemn, and express horror over what happened on January 6th in private were totally silent in public, or even worse, were spreading lies and conspiracy theories and continue to since that time. So disappointing, not surprising. Unfortunately, we've seen a trend from some of the same individuals. Go ahead.
Yeah. I like
so
Jen
Psaki. Go ahead. She put it out there, man. She put it out there.
I like Jen Psaki. She tells it as it is, and she's smart, and she responds to every question, and she doesn't dodge anything, and she gives good replies. I think that she's one of the strengths of the Biden administration, but that's besides the point. It is unfortunate. It is unfortunate that we had these people who promote to the public, and they're influencers. The Fox News personalities are influencers. You see people even today downplaying what January 6th was. Mm-hmm. That it wasn't a big deal, that it was just a demonstration, that we have people saying that it was Antifa out there, mm-hmm. and that the FBI had plants and moles that agitated the crowd. And it's just like, these are things that you hear from these media personalities. They promote this.
Yeah.
Laura Ingraham. I've heard them say that.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that debunks all that right off the top, I mean, if you're a logical person, you don't have to be logical. You don't even have to be really that smart. A lot of a lot of people that were at the Capitol, where there's a lot of the same people that were at the rally that President Trump had, the rally where he told people to go to the Capitol.
Oh yeah, they were
So
all
they,
part of it. They
so
walked down the
what,
street.
right. So what I'm saying is that how can you blame any other group of people when it was your constituents who were the ones that followed your commands and walked to the Capitol? And it wasn't that you told them to create havoc. They created on their own because the environment was already fueled with that. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like they weren't already angry. You'd already riled them up. I mean, we could do that. That's no different than when you're outside at a football game, a high school football game, and you rile up your schoolmates, your classmates to go attack the other team because you just lost because you thought they cheated.
Yeah.
Inciting a riot. It's no different.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. You would be arrested.
You would be arrested. So the only difference is you're looking at one of the most powerful men in the country as the president of the United States. You're looking at the fact that you don't want to see this type of chaos, so you want to downplay it as much as possible. And that's, you can't do that when you have the political energy that we have going on in our country right now, the divisiveness that's going on. You can't, you're not going to ever downplay it. This is going to resonate in our history books for the rest of our lives. Unless they decide to ban the conversation about it. That's possible.
It's possible.
They can ban the conversation, because it may make people feel embarrassed or sad or hurt their feelings.
I had a conversation, and this is back in the summer, about January 6th with a Trump supporter, and I said, to me, a Trump sign in your yard, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months after the election tells me that in part you support violence. And this person thought that was such a ridiculous idea. And I said, why? What were those people doing on January 6th? They were people who were covered themselves in Trump flags and carrying Trump flags and using a flagpole with a Trump flag to break in windows and attack police officers with them with flagpoles that had the Trump banner on it. So I'm like, is this what you want to be associated with?
Yeah.
That's my question. That's my question. To me, if I see a Trump sign in your yard, it means to me that in part you support violence. And I'm not afraid to say it.
You know what's amazing?
I'm not afraid to say it.
Yeah, I mean, this thing about it is not a lot of people like you that aren't afraid to say it. For me, it's not surprising.
What else would it mean?
It's not surprising.
After 13 months after the election.
What I'm saying is it's not surprising because you have people that are like that. You encounter them every day. It's just right now your eyes are open to it. It's out there. I mean, you understand what I'm saying? I want you to really understand what I'm saying.
To me, it is surprising.
These people were already there. That's what I'm saying. To me, it's not surprising. They were always here.
This is unprecedented. This is unprecedented. When someone has been out of office, basically the entire year,
you're looking at it from a narrow scope of
you
president.
still have people who are Trump this, Trump and that. It's never before has an ex-president exerted such influence over our politics, over our cultural conversations. It's a specter. He's a specter over democracy.
You're looking at it from a narrow lens, though, Darren. I'm trying to tell you, you're looking at it from a narrow lens. You're looking at it because you're looking at the president. This isn't about the president.
Okay.
This is about the people who support that president.
Okay.
So the people You're not upset at Trump for having a sign in the yard. You just said you were looking at the people that had the sign in the yard. Those people have always existed. Those
Yes.
people do not surprise me, is what I'm saying. So the sign is a rebellion. The sign is just saying, this is who I am. It has nothing to do with President Trump himself, in my opinion. It's all
Wow.
about the group of people that support. President Trump is only as strong as he is because of those people who have supported him.
Well, tell me about those
If those,
people.
what about
Describe
them?
describe those people. Who
I
are we
look at
talking about exactly?
I look at people that are selfish,
Okay.
and this could be for, I don't care what your ethnic background is. I look at it from a selfish perspective because you're going by how you feel, and you're not looking at facts. You're not looking at data. You're not looking at anything that has some substance to it. You just talked about the January 6th riot and how they were said to be Antifa. They blamed everybody else for this riot.
Right.
But no one
right.
is taking accountability because people are talking about their feelings. So you look at a Trump supporter and you criticize those, even if that Trump supporter was not at that rally, when you criticize those people that were at the rally, that same person looking like you're criticizing me because I support those same people. I support. They may say I don't agree with them invading the Capitol like they did, but they support the ideology that these people have. So you don't have to be at the rally, and you're still offended because somebody said something bad about those people. It's a selfish mentality. It's an ignorant mentality. You can watch video after video of a Trump supporter being questioned about what they believe, and they look ridiculous.
Okay. Well, if it's not,
it's crazy.
The reason why
So
the reason why I disagree with that is because it's more about it's not just. It is about Trump. Otherwise, why put a Trump sign in your yard if it's about what he stands for, if it's about the movement, it's about what you feel the policies of this country should be.
Is it what Trump stands for, or is Trump standing for what those people stand for?
Trump is standing for what those people stand for.
So that's what I'm saying. If it wasn't for them, Trump wouldn't be this powerful. If it wasn't for them, it's the group of people that have the majority of the people that are Trump supporters have an ideology of their own. And you talk to them, and it's all sort of similar, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not all about policy.
No, it's not about policy at all. I don't think.
It's about power. It's about structure in our country. It's about influence in our country. And that's what's being jeopardized. And they're worried about it.
Leanne says people so dedicated to a lie that they are willing to throw everything else out. Whether the lie is election fraud, invasion of aliens, legal abortion, etc., etc.
It is. She's exactly right. And you're willing, these people that are supporting Trump are willing to put their own lives and their family lives in jeopardy just because they don't want to accept something that is the truth or reality. Well, and you look at we just mentioned the people in these poor states, which are majority Republican states.
Okay.
Look how many voted against the healthcare reform.
Yes.
Look how many voted against it. That means they put their own health in jeopardy.
They're voting against their own self-interest. Yes.
Their own self-interest. They do it all the time.
I want to go back to what you said about the reason why I think it is different is because after John McCain lost, you didn't hear anything more about him. Nobody is going to have a John McCain sign in their yard past December. Nobody had a Romney sign in their yard past December. Even Bush, who had 2 terms after he was gone, people wanted to move on. They wanted to move on. Why don't we want to move on? Why don't they want to move on? Why are they so attached to a name?
It's the ideology, man. It's the ideology of it.
Well, then stand up for your ideology and ditch the name.
Well, you see, what I'm saying is they're standing up. Well, what is the ideology? Would it be too embarrassing to say what that ideology is?
The ideology is anti-woke, returning to some sort of normalcy that they believe is right. So a white, privileged, white, dominated culture.
So how's that sign going to look in your yard? How's
How
that
does the
sign going to
sign?
look? How's that
To me, it
sign?
looks desperate. To me, it looks
No,
to me you look like a loser.
No, what you just described.
I'm not afraid
the
to
sign,
say it.
You just described something. Put that in a sign. You just described what the ideology is. Put that on the sign. I said, how is that sign going to look in your yard?
Okay, so what you're saying is that the Trump people it's a movement. It's a social movement.
Describe again what that ideology is.
Well, I think, and this
Paraphrasing it.
I think it would be it's a white privileged society. It's a white straight return to some sort of where they can exert their influence, where the powerful can exert themselves.
Now create me a one-line slogan.
I'm the wrong person to do this.
No, you just gave me a whole description.
I don't know. You'd have to ask a Trumpster. Ask a Trumpster what they believe. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
The point I'm trying to get you to understand is everything you just described. If you put that into a slogan on a sign, how would that look in someone's yard?
Well, Leanne has a sign that says "I'm a nationalist." That would be it. That would be, but a nationalist, that's incomplete. It's more than just being
It's very incomplete. It's very incomplete compared to what you just described.
Let's see. Joe says a sign that would welcome to the 60s.
Okay. Say you had that sign in your front
yard.
And then
Trump is the ideology.
Say this was Say this was the sign in your front yard, right? How would that look in 2021? If you saw that sign instead of a Trump sign, what would you get out of that?
To me, I don't think that's accurate. Exactly. 1960s. When I think of the 1960s, I think of rainbow with a peace sign, and I'm thinking that was a time when social structures started to question authority. Okay, I would say that the 50s. I would say the 50s.
I give it this way. I would say 60s and beyond. I'm
sorry I'm frustrating you, but
because what I'm saying is that the people that you're talking about, these Trump supporters you're talking about, the description that you just gave will most likely be a pro Jim Crow type of person. Would you agree?
Yes.
That's the whole point of that 60 sign. Whether it's 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s, 20s, the whole point is you describe a type of person in your description. I'm not saying your description was accurate. I'm not saying that is all. What I'm trying to say is you're arguing about a Trump sign. They're putting the Trump sign because if they put down what the ideology really means, they couldn't put it in the yard because it would look very discriminatory. If you put that in your yard, it will make them look very standoffish more than the Trump sign.
To me, when you put a Trump sign in your yard, it does make you standoffish. It does make you a person that believes these certain things.
It's politically correct, is what I'm saying. If you put down the ideology of how some of these people may really feel, like Leanne saying, we know what it means.
We know what it means. That's what I'm saying. We know what it means.
But what I'm saying is you're saying putting the Trump sign is bothering you because they can't put what they really want to say. If they put what they really want to say, it will look bad.
Should we invite Greg in? Greg wants to join in.
Sure. I'll send Greg
post him a link or something. We'll get Greg on here, former guest host from several weeks ago. We want Greg wants to chime in here, so we'll get Greg in here with this.
Yeah, so I get him in here for a second.
I mean, going back to like what?
I mean, do you understand? You do understand what I'm saying, don't you? Do you understand what I'm saying at all?
I think so. I mean, I want to know from people out there what do you think when you see a Trump sign when you're driving down the highway? We know we've all seen it, and I see it, and it irritates me, and I ask myself, why does it bother me so much? Why does it bother me so much? Because I know behind that is a message of exclusion is a message that offends me. It offends me.
But I'm trying to get you to get past the visual and what it means on the inside. I mean, what I'm telling you is that, like I said, these people always been here. So I walk into them regularly. You can walk into the person without even having a Trump sign on, and there are people that don't like what's happening in our country from a demographic standpoint. You don't like the control of power that is shifting. A lot of things they do not like. It takes away, like you said, this privileged thing that they've had so many years. Give you an example. That judge in Louisiana we talked about earlier would not be under fire now 10 years ago.
No.
You see what I'm saying? So the ideology is there. But if you put that ideology on paper and put it in front of your yard, it's going to make you look like a racist. And that, what I'm saying is that it's blatant. They don't want to have that look of blatant racism on there for having it in their yard. A Trump sign gives them that shield of, this is who I'm voting for, this is who I support, but yet you're not saying the internal things of what's really happening, of what this guy really supports.
But to me, it does tell me that, though. To me, it's not. To me, it's transparent. It's transparent to me. I'm frustrating you. I'm sorry.
Because you're still looking at the surface.
Okay.
To peel the layers. We talked about this.
I am listening to you.
We talked about this the other day.
It's transparent.
You're looking at transparency. You're not unlayered the layers. Transparency said Trump was a womanizer, but that's not how they look at it. It was like, well, he made a mistake because they didn't peel back the layers. By peeling back the layers, you'll hear what his ex-wives had to say about it. If you peel back the layers, you look at what the Miss America pageant people had to say about it. If you peel back the layers, you can find a lot of dirt under Donald Trump's skin just on sex. Okay? You can peel back the layers, you can talk about discrimination in so many ways. That's what I'm saying. By putting up that Trump sign, you're not peeling back the layers. It's like I'm safe right here with this sign because he was our president, we want him back. But if you peel back the layers, you'll see let me put it this way. How many how do you want to use the word? I don't want to use KKK because that would be like pushing it to the extreme. But like that nationalist mentality that Leanne was saying, and I'll just put the word white nationalist in front of it. If you knew you had that many supporters, like those people that marched in Charlottesville, and you cannot say that this was wrong, you have the freedom of speech. You have the freedom to say what you want to say in our country because that's how our country is. But if you can't say it, I don't want that kind of support. If you don't have the courage to say that as an elected official, you are, to me, despicable. If you don't have the courage to say it like that, when you look like, what are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. That's despicable. So when you have those type of people that support you, and those type of people that these Trump signs in their yard, like I watched the guy yesterday at the gas station with this Go Brandon sign on his car, which I can give a crap about the Go Brandon thing because it's petty to me. But
I want to say something about that too. Yeah, go ahead.
But if he didn't see me at first when he got out of his car, but he saw me later, and I was like, hope no static come from this. So actually, this is exactly what I did. Dude went in, paid for his gas, came back out, and he had the nerve. He looked at me as he come out of the car and was like, "Go, Brandon, go!" Something with how the slogan goes.
Really?
And I just went in the car, grabbed my gun, and put it in the back of my pants so he can see it. He got back in his truck.
Wow.
And
wow, this was yesterday.
I may have overreacted. I know I overreacted because I could have just looked it off like whatever and kept moving. But I did that because I was like, not today. That was my mentality, not today. And so it was
Okay.
a look at Joe. So, but it was like not today. That was my mentality. Not today.
Well, okay,
So,
so a couple of things. So a question. So it is true then that Trump gave these people permission that it's okay to say these things and to think these things
but
because
again,
it's a
gold branding
shield.
is not
Because they
peeling
can
back the
hide.
layers.
I'm
Yeah,
not to
no,
that.
boy,
I'm talking about a
you're
Trump
right.
sign now. I'm going back
Yeah,
to
you're
just a
right.
Trump sign. So a Trump sign
Yeah.
is a shield that says I can feel like this because now I have this shield that says Trump, and it's okay. It's been legitimatized.
Exactly.
It's
It has
legitimate
been.
now.
It has
Okay.
been.
So
Because they
then
couldn't say this before. They couldn't
I
do
want
these things before. They
I
would have
wanted to
been.
Okay, and then I wanted to say about the go brain. That is offensive to me. That is
Yeah.
offensive to me. It didn't. It used to be that was off limits. You couldn't do the F word, okay, in our national politics thing. But now anything is fair game. This is what Trump represents. Anything is fair game. You can call anyone anything that you want. There's no filters. There's no. There's no respect. There's no
Right.
respect for people.
Right. I agree.
Good morning,
I agree.
Greg. Good morning, Greg. Thank you for joining us this
Good
morning.
morning.
Good to
Good
see you,
morning.
brother.
So you
I
had something
can't.
to say, right?
I got a whole lot to say. I don't know if y'all gonna
Well,
give me time,
well,
but
let's make it.
No,
Let's
let's do it.
paraphrase
Let's do it.
everything and make it
Let's do it.
and like
well,
condense it.
just simply, Trump and that black and white American flag is the ideology, and people hide behind that because they don't have to own any responsibility for what it really means.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Accountability.
You, you know, you keep saying, but I don't believe it. But I don't believe it. Individuals fall back on I don't believe it to allow other people to continue that bullshit. And they say, well, it's not me. I'm not racist. I'm not this. I'm not that sycophant. But they don't want to own responsibility that if you don't confront the problem when you see it with your friends, then that continues the problem. And that's on any topic. I mean, come on, guys. This country is fractured. This country is fractured and falling apart.
Yep.
And there's always been a fight between the Federalists and the states. The states want to have their power, their sovereignty. But then when they're in trouble, they want the federal government to come in and help. But I
Yeah,
only
this is
want you to
where we're
help
talking about
when I
disaster
need you
relief.
to help.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
And that was the whole situation around in the 60s, the civil rights movement, how we got to at least make some movement because JFK and Lyndon Johnson had no problem with flexing their federal authority.
They were pressured too to do that.
See,
They
but
didn't do it on their own.
no, they were pressured. They were
Yeah.
pressured, but they used that flex. These states that are trying their best to bring back the old are the ones that have sucked in the most money from the federal government.
Hmm.
You know, the places like California and New York, they give more money to the federal government than all the
Yep.
other states combined. So you don't want us in there, we'll take our money back.
That's what I was talking
Matter
about
of fact,
earlier. Yeah.
you're gonna make up some rules that
Yeah.
are really stupid. Here, let's make up this one about gun laws. About okay, everybody can sue the gun manufacturers.
Yeah.
You know,
So now you're
and
talking about
watch them change their stance.
yeah. Everyone likes money. Everyone likes money.
Yeah.
Yeah, but money is what? The root of all evil? We know that. The
The love
love
of
of
money.
money is the root of all evil.
And you see it. You see it played out in politics
Absolutely.
right now. You can see it.
Absolutely.
It's played
Well-
out. Joe Manchin is a prime example of it. He won't budge because of the fact he's worried about not getting elected because of the money he also can receive.
Well, I want to go back
That's it
to
right there.
what you said about that um, they don't have to mention that they're racist, or they don't have to mention these things because um, basically what Lamar is saying. But I think they do know what Trump stands for.
But
we
see,
know that. They know that.
you asked
The
me a
Trump
question last
sign.
week I couldn't answer about when I made the comment about Africana way of knowing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
All right. Our culture as
you can
Black
see it.
people in the diaspora, okay, the diaspora is the globe, those
Yeah.
who have removed us from our roots, from our countries, and we're spread around the globe,
Okay.
right? We still have a way of having community that transcends what the social structure, I won't say white society, I'll just say the social structure intends for us to do. All my life, there has been white people that want to tell me how to be Black, and not one of them have
Wow.
ever lived a day in a Black skin.
Can you give me an example?
An example?
Yeah.
I went to one of the most affluent high schools in Cleveland, Hawkins School.
Okay.
I was into sports. It's in my pedigree. In the 9th grade, I started 9th grade football, JV football. In the 10th grade, I started varsity football. In the 9th grade, I started basketball in the 9th grade. In the 10th grade, I started JV.
Uh-huh.
We got a racist coach
Oh,
that didn't want us to cross football and basketball. So I quit the football team.
What do you mean cross it? You mean like do both?
Cross practices.
Okay.
There was an overlapping practice,
Okay.
and I wanted to get my legs in shape for basketball.
Okay. So you went out for football to get in shape for basketball. Okay.
No. I was a football player.
Okay.
But when they had basketball practice after football practice, I wanted to play basketball. That man told me that I could not.
Okay.
So I quit the football team.
Okay.
They tried for a year over the summer to call me in. You know, we can make a name for you in football. Can't make a name for you in basketball. What would Carl Stokes think about you quitting the football team? All these things to try to make
Carl
me
Stokes
choose to do what they wanted me to do.
Huh.
And because I did not move, my parents taught me to be an independent thinker, to be responsible for my actions, and to do what I enjoy doing.
Okay.
I sat the bench all basketball season for my junior year and my senior year. But I sat on that bench and I played basketball. I went to practice. I had fun because I liked that sport. And you're not going to make me do it.
Lamar, has someone told you how to be Black? Has a white person told you how to be Black?
Oh, to a certain extent. I mean, yeah. I mean, different jobs I've had. I mean, they wanted me. It's not about telling you how to be Black. They're telling you how that black person can succeed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But you have to do it their way.
Or you're too Black.
Their way.
Yeah. I mean, really.
Has that been said to you? Has that been said to you guys before?
To a certain extent. I mean, I've been in sound for a long time, audio for a long time.
Yeah.
And I remember, you know, with all with my resume at the time, I went to apply for a sound company to be a sound engineer.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, okay, you know, let's talk about this. And they want to pay me this minimum amount of money to be a stagehand. And it's not saying that you can't work from the bottom and work your way up, but we're talking about someone who I was invited in. It wasn't like I went and filled out an application and said that, you know, I want to do this job. The thing was, they sought me out, but they sought me out because I was a check mark for their demographics. So after you become a check mark for their demographics, they're like, well, you know, you come in, you got to be the stagehand, you got to do this. I'm like, dude, I've been running sound for too long. What are you talking about? You know, what do you mean I'm going to be a stagehand?
Yeah.
And I'm not putting down stagehands, but that's just like, you bring
No, it would be
in,
a step down. Yeah.
so, I'm like, I work better on my own. I make more money on my own than I work for you. And so that's what I did. And that's why, and Greg know me from running sound. That's why I did it the way I did it, because I was going to have somebody tell me how, not, you can tell me how to make my job better, how to be a better engineer, but you're not going to take me a roundabout way to mold me into this. So they're like, you're taking the credit from my talents.
Right.
That's the molding part. And you see it
So-
from a corporate America standpoint as well, all the time. And a lot of times, I think what you call that, code switching, basically. Then you start code switching, so you can stay in the industry, so you can keep these jobs. I've code switched most of my life. That's the way of saying, okay, and I had my boundaries with it.
Say some more about code switching.
There's a way that I talk to you as a white person that I can talk to Lamar's differently, and he understands me clearly, where I would have to explain to you.
Even how the ingredients,
like you're explaining now.
Well,
I'm trying to get to the heart of it.
It's exactly
because
that.
You think about this also.
You throw out a term code switching. Lamar understands that right away. I had to ask the question, right?
Yeah. Well, it's you don't do the things that you would say or do around. You see that lessening now, because this younger generation is coming into a job as they are. Code switching is how you talk, basically. I don't use the slang around my coworkers that I use around another black person on the job, basically.
Okay.
I may not talk about certain topics, or I'll talk around certain topics. I can say a sentence. When I told you about the Trump sign, I know Greg knew exactly what I said, what I was talking about. You're still on the layer of the Trump sign. I'm like, that Trump sign means diddly. It's what the ideology is behind it. And they cannot put that ideology on a sign.
Okay.
So right now, those Trump supporters are code switching.
Yes.
They are. Okay. They are exactly doing the exact same thing.
I want to go back to what Greg said about the diaspora and being in an Africana sort of community.
I know what he's saying.
I've always wanted to.
Do you know what diaspora means?
I do. I mean, I think that one thing that I admire about African Americans is that a lot of times people will be able to call themselves brother and sister and mean it. Maybe you don't even know that person very well, but because they're also African American, you're able to support that person and love that person and be there for that person. Whereas white Americans, there's nothing like that. We're not go around and call each other sister or brother, and there isn't kind of a.
So let me bring you a comparison.
There isn't that community.
Let me give you a comparison, because I'm sure you know this. Cleveland has been the butt of a lot of jokes.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Yes.
Right? If you're from Cleveland and you meet somebody in New York that's from Cleveland, you got an automatic camaraderie.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Whether you're in Texas, whether you're in Florida, if you meet somebody from Cleveland because you've lived under the same butt of a joke, right? For the black people in America, understand that we were disconnected from our African heritage,
right?
Our roots,
right?
Okay, and we lived under that same. So no matter where we are, especially blacks who were free, they had a camaraderie, the same way Clevelanders had a camaraderie. Didn't have to know you. You lived on the other side of town. You lived on the west side. West side didn't exist to me, but because you were from Cleveland, we were able to communicate. And that's the same within the black community and the African community.
Okay.
Because there were 4,000 years of African history that they disconnected us from our memories, from our religions, from our ways of knowing, but those elders that we had I'm sure you love your grandparents, and your grandparents showed you if they spoke the home language or whatever their traditions and ways of doing things. We had the same thing up through slavery. That was the roots exposure that people got to realize over the generations. That's why we do some of the things that we do. And as they continue to learn and reconnect with their history, they put together an Africana framework
Uh-huh.
so that we can recapture our ways of knowing and the ways of remembering. But
That's
but
good.
I have to say less, because most white folks, and that's not including you, but most white folks get offended. If you don't want to be here, then you leave. Then you should leave. And I've
See,
always
I
told.
don't get that
But
offense.
but
I
the
don't get that
problem
offense.
was when they freed the slaves. The slaves said, "We free now? Oh, okay. Well, take me back home." No, we can't do that. But you said we free. You brought us over here. You should take us back home. No, we can't do that. Y'all need to get some money. And the reality of today is, every time white society gives us rules to live by, and we
Okay.
adjust and live
Okay.
by them and about to flourish, they change the
They change
rules.
the rules
They
every time.
change the rules. So I have to code switch. I have to let you think that I don't know the rules that you playing by. But I know you. I know the rules. I just can't let you know I know.
Okay. That's good stuff. Thank you for sharing that.
I mean, you see it in politics right now. If you look at the cities that were in the gerrymandering, what communities are being affected? The one they're trying to reduce the
Minority
power of, which is
communities. Yeah.
minorities. I mean, you look at it in Texas, you got
That's been
two of the
happening for
most.
years.
Yeah, exactly. But right now, in the past 2 years, since 2018 was the most black politicians you've had since the 1800s, since pre-Jim Crow. You haven't had this many black politicians in the Senate and in the Congress. It hasn't been there. So now that they're there, what do? You eliminate them. That's power.
Well, you say things like, "Well, I couldn't have lost Georgia. I couldn't have lost Georgia." Well, guess what? Yes,
He
you
started
did.
that I couldn't lose before
Yeah, yes, you
before we
did
got
lose
to
Georgia.
2020. But he was in 2019 when he started talking
Oh,
about,
he
we're
planted the
going.
seeds. He
Yes.
planted the seeds.
Right.
And through repetition, everybody buys into it. If I lie to you enough, I repeat it, then you're going to start to believe it. That's psychology. That's human psychology. It don't have nothing to do with color.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I'm a recovering addict. I believe my own lies. I knew I was lying and still believed it. Would defend it.
Okay.
Right. No, I agree. I appreciate that, Greg. Man, I really do. I appreciate your comments there, because it kind of it kind of brings it from a different perspective, because although I totally agree with everything you're saying, you worded it in a way that I would word it if I wasn't on the air.
Right.
That makes sense.
And I can do that because I don't have the corporate connection. See, I'm the guest. I can have my independent opinion, where if you're in the commercial space, you don't want to lose your funding by saying things that
I don't have no
person would
funding,
be.
man.
No, but
I ain't got no funding.
I'm just saying that
I want it though.
That's the practice of what goes on in real society.
No,
That's what
you
goes
making
on
a
in
point.
real society.
And this is the point. I brought that up like that because that's what I've had to do to get the jobs that I've had. The spaces that I navigate is because of that. You may see me on my personal Facebook page say some things. Now, if we talk about it in person in a public forum, the wording of it is going to be a little different.
Right.
I'm going to sweeten it a little bit.
Right.
And if you notice, what do people always say when you see me debating on Facebook? There's a black person will say, "Lamar, why you keep tolerating this?" Y'all seen that? Or they'll question, "Why you keep dealing with this person? Why you keep debating with this person?" And my thing is to bring that common ground, and I have to do it in the way that I was designed to do it. And the thing about it is that outside of that, if I get that person one-on-one, then I'm all the way real with them.
So
But in
here's
order to
the
keep
other,
getting
here's
in,
the other piece that
Yeah.
for that same point. I do it because I have youth from my church and kids in my family that are watching and they're
Yeah.
reading. And I want them to see that you can have a debate and not make it personal, that you can stand your ground, stand on what you believe and not change, and let the other person have the last word. Let them be wrong. It's an example for the youth as well. Go ahead.
here's a comment from Jeff. What do you think? So I think it is more
Yeah, I
about
was just
green
trying to read
privilege
that,
than
yeah.
white now. The 1%
Yep.
is setting the rules, saying being said, majority of the 1% is predominantly white, but the money will change mindset regardless of color. I can't really agree with that.
No, I don't agree with that either.
And I give you an example. I give you an example of why the money is not the rules. I was watching I Am Athlete with some former NFL players, and they were talking about the Trump situation, and they were saying they voted for Biden, although Trump's policies benefit them more. They're looking out for their people
Yes.
more so than themselves.
Yes.
That's something you will not see, that you don't see often from white America, because you see it
I
throughout
agree with
politics.
that. I agree with that.
They will dump on their own.
There are
just
some
for the money.
there are
So
some
I
people
totally agree.
there are some people who are white who will vote against their own wealth interest
In large
Here's-
numbers. The thing
Here's
about it, it's
something
in
that's
large
happening
numbers.
in real time. You brought up the HBCU, right?
Yeah. Well,
This
we're going to talk about that
discussion-
in a little bit.
This discussion was going on before, because I know you touched base about the guy from Jackson State. But last year, draft, not one HBCU
that'll change
player
now.
was chosen. No, it won't. Because
You don't
the
think so?
NFL
Travis
says
Hunter's going to be
if you-
drafted in the
if
NFL.
you are going to boycott the historically white institutions, that
Predominantly white.
we're not going to let you into the NFL.
Well,
We're
this
not
is what
gonna
happened
do by
also.
draft, because there's guaranteed money.
If you're
when
good
you get
enough,
drafted.
you're going to be drafted.
Well,
Period.
here's a little bit of.
You don't think so?
Well, hold on. Here's a little bit of understanding about what Greg. I want to clear up a little bit what Greg just said. Okay, the reason why no one from the HBCUs got drafted last year, it was because of COVID. Number one, the thing about it is that the predominantly white schools made an effort to go to the power schools to look at their athletes. They put scouts in there. They didn't send any scouts to any of the HBCUs last year, which was also a discriminatory thing.
Yes.
Because there were players that were good. They
Yep.
didn't get drafted until after. They did not get drafted until after the draft. They came as walk-ons. After the rounds were over, they brought some in. And I just heard that yesterday. I didn't realize it was zero. Zero were drafted. And they were drafted because they did not take the time. They did not even risk their health like they did going to the powerhouse schools to go to an HBCU school. So
I think it's because the draft has guaranteed money. If you're drafted, you're guaranteed money.
So we're going to come back to that a little bit, Greg.
Okay.
Well,
if you want to stick around for that.
This is interesting because I just have one question though. Okay.
So we're going to go into So we're going to go into this conversation now then?
I think we should. We brought it up. Okay, so here's a question. Even though that you might go to Ohio State or LSU or Georgia, USC, that are predominantly white institutions, predominantly the people that play football are African American. So how is it discriminatory? I'm just asking the question.
Wait,
I'm just going to ask the question.
Do it one more time. Bring it back one more time.
Okay. Ohio State is a predominantly white institution.
Correct.
But predominantly who plays football for that institution?
Right.
African Americans. So is it African Americans make up 70-80% of the lineup of Ohio State University football?
Okay, go ahead. I agree. I'll go along with that.
So the people who is being drafted in the NFL are predominantly African Americans. Am I not right?
Yeah, that's not the discriminatory part. It's
Okay,
the money that's being used. Do you
what's the
remember
discriminatory part then?
the discriminatory part about it is when you look at those top draft, those top picks that are coming in, the money have already been made off of them same players in college at an all-white school. And then for years, black players weren't making the money. Let me bring it back. For years, these players were making the schools were making money off of these players until recently, where they're legally paying them now for their image and their likeness. When they made money off of these players for the longest.
Okay.
So when you look at a Travis Hunter going to Jackson State, that's more money going to that school.
Yes.
What if majority of these black kids went to HBCUs? HBCUs will probably have a better financial situation in 2021 compared to what they have now. Yes. They're always asking for money because they don't have it, because all the kids are going to these predominantly white schools because they got the money behind them. That's where it started from. The money's behind them. That's why you choose Ohio State over at Jackson State. They have the resources.
And they have the exposure.
But what if, like I said, if they had treated these HBCUs fairly in the beginning, if the government, when they start handing out money to these state schools, these like Ohio State, before they were this big mecca, if they had gave Central State, which is less than an hour from Ohio State, the same amount of money they gave Ohio State throughout the years, just government money, funded money. Would Central State be a better school? They weren't getting that money. I mean, talking about you going all the way back.
I get you, but I want to go back to the questions like if Travis Hunter is good enough to go into the NFL, he will be drafted. Just to give you an idea, it's not like HBCU players have never been drafted. Jerry Rice, Walter Payton, Art Shell, Willie Lanier.
Where was Jerry Rice? Where was he drafted?
Strahan, Richard Dent. I'm not done. Emmett Thomas. These people were Hall of Famers. They were HBCU players. So I don't know what you mean. Like they're not going to be drafted.
Alabama.
Mel Blunt.
Let me give you
Sharp.
Let me give you an example. I got the list here for you.
Jackie Slater.
No, here I got the list. I just posted it. There's the list. I looked it up already today. I got the list of all the players. I don't know if it got all my players in there, but I put everybody in there. Out of the top 100 names that you guys will recognize, I put them in there for drafted.
Is another one. Donald Driver is another. These are great players. So if he's good enough, he's going to be drafted.
Hold up. Let me make one comment here. Hold on. Travis Hunter was the first number one athlete in the country to go to an HBCU. Yes. That's the difference. The second difference is if Travis Hunter plays like he's supposed to play, because scouts are going to be there looking for him. If he plays lights out his 4 years or 3 years at Jackson State, they will pressure the NFL to draft the HBCU player and at least he had to be at least a top 5 pick. When have you ever seen an HBCU player picked in the top 10? Have you ever? And we just gave you a list of Hall of Famers.
Marion Motley,
Leroy Kelly.
I don't know. I'd have to go back as to when these people were drafted.
Jerry Rice.
Too Tall Jones. Jerry Rice was at the end of the first round.
But you got so many years of football that you go back to Marion Motley. That's my granddaddy's watching the Browns. Right. That's my granddaddy's Browns.
There's a big heritage of great football.
When you say things like big heritage, if your heritage is 100 years, that might be big heritage. But you looking back 500 years, it's not so big heritage.
Well, we're talking about
you look
football,
at the amount, right? But I'm trying to measure and trying to say that being black in the NFL, you had to have an ability for certain things. They didn't mind you being a running back. They'd never hire you as a quarterback. They didn't mind you being on the line and the corner, but there were certain certain Ohio State you brought up, their offensive linemen, how many black offensive linemen were there? I watched Woody Hayes for years. That first string, second string was always white.
He had I'm trying to think of his name. He played for the Rams. He was black.
One
he was a
person?
Heisman Trophy.
That was in the
Heisman
80s, though.
Trophy
Orlando Pace.
That was in the 90s.
90s.
One person?
Yeah.
One person? They do 10 every year. You're going to pick one person? That's like having one black be a spokesperson for all black people.
Wait. Now, if you're looking at who has been drafted for Ohio State, there is a lot more African American players that have been drafted.
Ohio State. I agree. Now they have no choice. They have no choice now. I mean, they have no choice. I mean, you can even look at developing quarterbacks. You go all the way back to what was the quarterback, the Heisman Trophy winner, went to Glenville. Troy Smith.
Troy Smith
could have been developed into a good quarterback, I think.
Yes, he could have. He wasn't given a fair shot in the NFL.
They wasn't. They didn't. They didn't want him to have
because of his size. Because of his size, yeah.
It wasn't just the size, because you had other short players. It wasn't just the size.
Would come to Cleveland just to die. We didn't have an offensive line. You can't keep a quarterback alive. So if you bring somebody brand new into the system, they can't learn it by putting it on the field, and you don't have no offensive line to protect them.
Well,
start with Tim Couch in 1999, and every quarterback.
Cleveland is a bad example. Cleveland is an exception.
Well, no, you don't
start with an offensive line. All the
Cleveland Browns. Do you know how many bad mistakes the Cleveland Browns have made in 20 years?
Oh yeah, this is not an argument for Cleveland. I mean, that's a
separate thing.
Well,
that is a separate
point.
You don't even want to bring that up.
The offensive line is the point.
Well, we're going to get back on topic of this conversation.
So what are we saying here about HBCUs?
I want to play the video. I want to play the video first.
I want to talk about that. Okay.
I want to play the video first, and we'll bring it back because I want to talk more about Travis Hunter.
I want to talk about
and I want to talk about the decision he made and why it could be a good impact for the NFL and for college football.
Okay, this video. Let's do it.
You already know I am, Travis Hunter, but I got a lot to say right now. I mean, I'm really speechless, but I got a lot to say. I appreciate all my teammates for helping me get to where I'm at. I appreciate y'all for just pushing me every day and showing that y'all following my footsteps and wishing me to be great. I thank all the coaches, especially Coach Fontaine, for taking me in as a freshman. Since day one, he seen something in me that nobody else seen. Just always coming to pick me and make sure I had somewhere to eat, make sure I had somewhere to stay every night. Because when I first got up there, I really didn't have no friends. I really just came up there and just thought football, no schoolwork, no nothing. And I really thank Dr. Child and Ms. Williams for actually helping me and looking out for me in my classes, really pushing me to get my grades up. And I want to thank Coach Bear for just always trusting in the whole team and trusting me to be the leader of this class. I want to thank Coach Dante, Coach Warfare. I want to thank all the coaches just for really pushing me and pushing me to be great and be who I am today. That being said, I got 3 actions. Everybody know I'm committed to Florida State, but this is look real good too, but that ain't my choice. No. This one look real good too, but I'm gonna say that for later. I like this one. It fit me well, but that ain't who I want to be. It's always been on my mind. But check me out, Mom. Go get that hat.
You all prime time.
Appreciate Dion for giving me this opportunity. This is a real lifetime opportunity. I'm out.
That was deep. I'm gonna read this quote.
I love it.
This was a quote from Travis Hunter. He said, "I want to be part of history, and more. I want to be part of that future. I'm making this decision so that I can light the way for others to follow, and make it a little easier for the next player to recognize that HBCUs may be everything you want and more, an exciting college experience, and a vital community, and a life-changing place to play football." That's a quote from a high schooler, and that means
he's a smart guy.
he took that, and he took some time to think about this.
Yep.
And what it is that the way the media is putting it, they want to make it sound like he's doing something for someone else. Because all people keep saying is, what if Deion Sanders goes? Well, they're saying that he felt pressure to do it, but they're saying, what if Deion Sanders decide in the next year or two, if he wins another championship, to go play for a powerhouse team? What does that leave Travis Hunter? What makes them think Deion will leave? If you ever listen to Deion Sanders talk, he's all about changing the lives of people. He did an interview yesterday, I think it was, talking about the media wasn't there when he was coaching the Pee Wee leagues. They weren't there when he was teaching the traveling league for his son. They weren't there. So they don't even know how he relates to the kids. Think about this. Think about Deion Sanders.
The fear.
Yeah. Think about Deion Sanders. It is. They fear what he can do in the league now. Because you think about Deion Sanders, how many coaches do you think that can relate to this young generation now? Out of all these coaches you see, Nick Saban.
You think Nick Saban?
No. You see, Urban Meyer can't do it. So what I'm saying is that you have a player, and think about, like they say, as soon as Deion Sanders come into your home to talk to your parents, and that's another thing. We talked about Black culture. There's this identity that you have to have. Well, there's this relationship that you build with the mother. He built a relationship with Travis Hunter's mom. Okay. There's this no-nonsense relationship that came in. And like Deion said, I'll shoot it straight. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. You want to put the work in. When the mother heard this Black man telling her son, you got to put the work in. We're not going to give you this. Look, he didn't talk about all the amenities of Jackson State. He talked about what it's going to take for him to be a responsible Black man in the NFL. That's where Deion Sanders' mindset is. It's not about you being this star. It's about molding a man to be a football player in the NFL, which is something, if you look at our league over the years, you can see the lack of guidance in our athletes.
Okay.
You can see it. Now take it to another level when you're looking at a Black player with the lack of representation in these big schools. There's lack of representation for athletes. A white player get all the representation from the dean of the school all the way down to the maintenance man. He see representation. Think about it. When you walk into a school, I have a cousin who went and ran track for Kansas. Okay. He told me what it was like walking on that campus.
Okay.
He left. He came back home. Back to Ohio. I mean, it's no representation. So when you look at someone now, the only other factor that may hinder Travis Hunter is being able to associate in a white-dominated culture in America, basically, because he's going to be around so many African Americans in that culture. I'm assuming nowadays that these HBCUs are preparing. They are definitely. I know they are preparing their students for that culture when they get into corporate America, into the business world. They're preparing them for it. So that's a lot of dynamic to deal with as a young person.
I mean, it's really important if I can know my worth and own license to what I decide to do.
And that's what he did.
They're doing from the outside. Oh, what if? Aren't you afraid? No, I'm not afraid. I'm making this choice. Because I want to set the example for the little ones that's following me. And he got that from the older Black man that taught him that you're doing stuff for the people that's following you.
He got 3 or 4 NFL players on his staff. Deion Sanders does. Good players. Then you look at Hugh Jackson just went to Grambling. Eddie
Yeah.
George is at Tennessee State.
Mhm.
You have notable names now that are going into coaching. That's going to draw players. Think about a running back. Would you not want to learn under Eddie George? You know what I'm saying? Just like Travis Hunter went to go learn under Deion Sanders. They were saying at the combine, when you go to the NFL combine, that the corner, when you get to the defensive backs, and you had Deion Sanders on the field. I was watching the interview yesterday. They were saying how all the cornerbacks just want a nugget from him, just a tip from Deion Sanders. They know how great he is. So when you look at that potential, and that's what you see, like Greg said, there's fear. What you see, that was the same thing that happened with Michael Jordan when he became an owner. People thought he would get all these stars. But the difference is, did Jordan do it to change culture, or did he do it to be an owner and for the money? Deion Sanders went to Jackson State to change the culture. He's changing it because he was on almost every game was broadcast for one last year. That's changing culture. To get the number one pick out of the whole country, that's changing culture.
Yeah.
So that's changing how America looks at what these schools can do in the future. That's big, man.
Well, I mean, I applaud this guy, this kid, because he's making a choice for his heart. He's not listening to what others are telling him, like, you have to go here, you have to go there, you should go here and there. He's made a personal choice, and I feel happy for him, for his family, for Deion Sanders. You know, there's a lot. You might be the number one prospect in the country, but that doesn't guarantee success. You know how many 5-star recruits come into a big college program and don't end up going anywhere or doing anything in football? They'll get washed out or enter the transfer portal, and they're like sitting as a backup somewhere. So
why do you think that
happens? No
happens?
guarantee of success.
But
why do you think that happens?
He's not listening to others is wrong.
I think it happens.
Listening to the public. He's not listening to public opinion. He's not listening to the social structure. He's listening to his parents, to those who have come into the governance part of his life. And that's where he's getting his decision making. Everybody in the social structure ain't gonna like what he's gonna decide to do. They don't like me, but it doesn't change who I am and how I feel and what I stand for. And as a black man in this country, that's a lot, because they did a whole lot to not let us feel that confidence. See, I can do that because I'm old. I can do that because I'm
totally
old.
Confident. You know what's another thing? You ever look at a negative that you turn into a positive? Imagine this. Travis Hunter committed in 2020. So it's been over a year, almost 2 years he's been committed to Florida State, right? If Florida State had hired Deion Sanders as a coach, we would never will be having this conversation.
Nope.
So the positive was Deion Sanders was an alumni of Florida State, and he's telling Florida State
he robbed
right
this
now,
guy from Florida State,
right? So, but he's telling Florida it's a deeper. Now, that's what I'm saying. You got to peel back the layers, because see, people are saying he stole it from Florida State. This is bigger than that. This is Deion Sanders saying, "I'm going to be better than Florida State." He has the potential right now to be a better team than Florida State.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. I mean, you asked me why is that? Why does that happen? It's because a lot of these big time programs use the athletes. They use the athletes.
Yeah, definitely. That's what they do. You would get Alabama would get 3 or 4 or 5-star players. And they sit the bench. All they did was stockhold the. All they did was grab all the players and keep it for somebody else.
They keep it for somebody else. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. This is what Travis Hunter, he might not have started at Florida State as a freshman.
Nope.
Right.
He might not have. He's going to start all 4 years. He's going to get the good, the bad, and the ugly out of being at Jackson State.
Yep.
He's going to get real-time reps.
You know? And so you look at it, like what was it? Marcus Spears was saying yesterday on ESPN, talent is talent. You can go to HBCU. You may not play all the top talent that they think you should play, but when you get on that NFL field, you know, you just as good. Shannon Sharp said the same thing. He went to the Shrine game He pointed out everybody he was better than on that field that went to a powerhouse school. He was like, I'm better than every one of these guys. And he came in the league and showed it. Jerry Rice showed it. Scottie Pippen showed it. All these players, So anyway, we could talk about this forever, but I'm happy for y'all, man.
I gotta go. Thank you, y'all. My
thank
household is getting up. Thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate that.
We appreciate you, man. You take care now.
Peace, brother.
Peace, buddy.
Bye-bye.
But yeah, man, I'm happy for him as well. I'm happy for Travis Hunter. My thing is, I just really hope that he continues to develop and mature. And one thing again about Deion Sanders that I like, he did it with his current team. He brought in this Instagram model. He brought her in to let the players know how some of these women do with these athletes and their money. And he let her talk, let her tell from her perspective of what she encountered. And it was really cool because you won't see a powerhouse team doing that. He's focused on the maturity of his players. He want to see them to be responsible men, Okay. What we got next, man? Let's go into your TikTok challenge. I want to hear more about that.
Okay. So this week there started a viral TikTok challenge that was dark about shooting up your school. And it came to a head on Friday. Schools, high schools, mostly all across the country, from the Bay Area, Kansas City, to right here in Ohio, Texas, as you said, were either shut down or severely compromised. Yesterday morning here in my little town, like half of the police department was at the high school campus. They had to search everyone's bags. There were people that were even questioned because there was a door that was left open the night before. They thought there might have been somebody had snuck in and there was a shooter or whatever. And according to my daughter, about half of the students weren't there because parents kept them home. So it's just, what is wrong? What is wrong with America? What is wrong with people? What's going on? Mm-hmm. Here's a video from Kansas City, the local news there, talking about this social media threat.
Well, a nationwide TikTok challenge causing schools across our area to take heightened precautions.
Yeah, posts warning of potential school shootings tomorrow have been making the rounds on the app. And as Jody Goldberg tells us, while the threats are unfounded, authorities are not taking any chances.
Police on Long Island sounding the alarm about posts like this one.
You take a stock photo of a weapon, you put that onto a post, and then you write underneath it, I got guns, I'm going to shoot up the school.
Now going viral on social media.
It goes from town to town. It goes from state to state.
And sometimes, according to Nassau County Police, their origin is not even close to here.
We had one that was tracked back to Virginia.
But the act of reposting actually does more harm than good, according to Police Commissioner Patrick Ryder, who hopes to raise awareness about a growing trend in social media threats and the spread of false information.
Please stop reposting. Call 911.
These social media screenshots prompted an increase in security last week in the Hicksville School District, when police say it was actually directed at out-of-state campuses. And this isn't the only local case.
A 12-year-old girl took to the internet and sent something out that shut a school district down for 3 days.
Nationally, there's also a video circulating on TikTok threatening guns and shooting in schools on Friday. Law enforcement officials at this time are calling it non-credible and say it's possible the threats originated from a challenge to skip school.
Every school district has a Homeland Security officer assigned to them, working with them with going over drills, policies.
People we spoke to say schools already have enough issues to deal with.
You're not safe anywhere you go these days.
It's crazy that our world is changing.
According to Nassau County Police, there's been a 25% increase in the number of school complaints since 2019. Each time a call comes in, officials explain they have to divert resources from investigating other crimes, and it also disrupts the learning process. They do say there are serious consequences for anyone found responsible for initiating these threats. In Mineola, Long Island, Jody Goldberg, Fox 5 News.
When are we going to admit that we have a gun violence problem in this country?
I don't know. Whenever they decide to own up to it and face the facts, man.
Would you say we have a gun violence problem in this country?
Oh, definitely. Definitely we have a gun violence problem.
Okay.
We have a gun violence problem because we have crazy people.
Why are we so afraid to say that?
They're not. I think people do say it. I think what people tend to do is that they'll start to blame people versus the gun. Yes, we have a gun problem. Then we get to the root cause. Why do we have a gun problem? Money.
Well, people will say that it's a person problem. It's the people that are the problem.
I think it's both. I think it is a people problem because you're allowing people to have guns that shouldn't have them. You have people that are irresponsible. You have people that won't have accountability. If you had more accountability over the years with people, like just use the minors, the youth with guns.
Okay.
If we had a policy in America that would arrest the parents like the Crumleys have been arrested over the last 20 years, if we had that type of policy, I think school shootings would have went down.
Is that going to change anything?
I think school shootings would have went down. You
Just
hear what I'm saying?
Okay. So is that going to start a trend among DAs in this country?
I think it's going to be a pressure to start that trend. I think it's going to be pressure to do that. And then again, it's according to what states this happened. This happened in Michigan where you have a Democratic governor.
Should parents be held criminally liable if your child posts something like a threat and it shuts down a school system?
I think there should be a conversation. I'm not saying you can actually charge the parent with that. I think that there should be a conversation. I think there should be. I think there should be. Okay, you should.
So like the police should calling the parents and just talk to them.
Yes. No. It should be. You should find out what's going on with the parent and what's going on with their child. If the child posts a threat on social media, what is going on? Is that child? Is that child posting that? Is the child posting that threat because he's being bullied? Is he posting that threat because he's like psycho, wants to be this person that go and shoot up the school? Mm-hmm. What is the reasoning for the child to even post that? You never posted that. Why? I've never posted anything. Well, not that we had Facebook back then.
I mean, I wanted to get out of school, but I'm not going to make a threat like that.
But what I'm saying is beyond that. I think it also goes back to parenting. Definitely parenting. Why don't you don't see all kids doing it? It's a certain sector of kids that are doing this, and then you look at the parenting. I'm sure there's a disconnect.
What sector is that?
What I'm saying, there's a group of kids. It's not what I'm saying. I'm not sure who that sector of kids are. What I'm saying is a small amount. And if you look deep into that, you can look at parenting.
Okay.
How
do you legislate parenting though in this country?
You can't legislate it, but you can make parents accountable. Fine them. Okay. You don't think the school district can fine that parent?
So that's the answer.
What I'm saying is you have to do something to make people accountable, is what I'm saying. I don't care what it is. I ain't gonna say I don't care what it is. If you fine a parent X amount of dollars, you don't think things will start straightening up? If you start putting parents in jail for their kids?
I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of pushback about that. There's a lot of pushback.
That video you showed me last night that was down here in Texas, that mom, the mom called the police on her two sons that were arguing.
Uh-huh.
How did the police handle that whole family?
Poorly. They showed up and started like yelling at people, telling them to get on the ground. One guy was tased for 40 seconds.
But again, they called, like I said, this was an issue with the kids, but they put the mother under arrest, detained the mom.
Yeah.
So why can't you detain the moms of these parents? I mean, the moms of these kids that are making these gun threats?
I don't know.
Why can't you be just as aggressive? Why can't you be just as aggressive as you are with those you think that do not deserve to be treated right? That woman, they act like she didn't deserve to be treated right. Do that to all parents when their kids are acting up.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Don't pick and choose. DeSoto is an all black community majority black community in Texas. Or minority community, say it that way, in Texas.
Okay.
And it's not a bad community. We're talking about a good community, decent community. This is not one of your impoverished communities that when you would think of when you say black community. This is not like that in DeSoto. So when you're looking at these kids in these schools, like I said, I use the Crumblies as an example. They got arrested. Why not go after parents? Why not go after parents when they make these threats? Maybe you get down to the bottom of getting that child the help he needs. Sometimes you got to put pressure on the parents to take responsibility sometimes. That don't make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I just want your opinion. I don't know what the answer is. I'm not sure that it would. I'm not sure that it would.
Answer.
I'm not sure that it would make that much difference. I just don't.
I don't know.
I'm a pessimist.
Maybe because you're not used. Maybe because you're used to not seeing accountability.
Maybe.
I mean, it is. We see, you see it all over the country. There's no accountability. And when they start making people accountable, maybe some things will start, happening right.
Okay.
Things will change. But you got to have politicians that's willing to step up to the plate and say these things. Like you said, they want to rather protect the gun than protect people. And it starts with accountability.
Joe says going after the parents seems harsh. See, this is the pushback that you would get.
Yeah, we all can give our opinions. But like I said, did he think the Crumblies was harsh? I don't know, Joe. Do you think when they went after the Crumblies for their son shooting up a school, do you think that, parents are held accountable if they are black? Most of the time they are, even jailed. Most of the time. I've seen it.
So, I mean, I think you're just going to get a lot of pushback. If you're going to say, well, if somebody's 17 and they go in and they shoot somebody, the parents are going to go to jail.
Was it the parents' gun? Now, let me rephrase what I'm saying. If that kid used their parents' gun out of their own home, that parent should be accountable. If that 17-year-old kid bought that gun off the streets, you can't blame the parent for that. Okay. It still goes to parenting.
Okay.
It still goes to what happened with the disconnect in parenting that will make that child want to do that.
But so Joe's going to have to explain yourself, Joe, because you said going after the parents seems harsh, and now you're saying that you would go after the parents. So I'm just we're trying to get to the.
He kind of throwing mixed messages out there. If the parent didn't secure their gun, they're guilty. I totally agree, Leanne. I totally agree with you. That's the same way I feel. And we have to do better as a community and get that right. Where's Joe at? Let's see how Joe wants to go ahead and join us here. I just sent Joe the link. I just sent you a link, Joe. If you want to join us and explain yourself a little bit, that'd be great.
Find the levels. So
let's talk about it.
Have a conversation.
Hey, I just sent you the link, Joe. If you want to work with us and let us know what's going on, let me know. I just sent you the link, man. But yeah,
I mean, it just makes me sad, and I have to wonder to myself, what is the answer? Because I'm not sure that I know the answer now. I don't know. It just makes me sad. It's like this is the kind of country we live in where, on a Friday in December, my kid is searched. All of her bags are searched. They're being questioned by police. People are scared. Kids aren't showing up to school because they're so scared. That's just sad. This is America. Is this the kind of America that I want to live in? No, it's not. It's not the kind of America I want to live in. So if you think that having guns and more guns makes you free, I would argue no, it does not. It does not.
Are these happening in inner city schools, or are they all suburban and rural schools?
I don't know.
Where a majority of your school shootings occurred?
At suburban schools.
And
I mean,
I don't know. I haven't did the research. I just said that kind of question.
I don't know about. I was talking about the threats. In this particular case, the threats are probably in suburban schools.
Now, this is the issue that I've always had with the gun issue at schools. When When a gun issue happens in the inner city school, you put in all these metal detectors to check the backpacks. This has been going on since we were in school. You know what I'm saying? Or you've had police in certain schools. It's just now getting to the point where you have, which they just changed the name. Instead of saying there's the school has a police officer in the school, they call it what now? A resource officer.
Yep.
They changed the name to make it sound good for
Make
suburban
it sound
schools.
better.
Make it sound better. Now, what they do now is that they're saying now you want to arm teachers and staff with guns. All these different things when you could have really fixed the issue early on with some of these metal detectors that they can have in schools.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I'm not saying it's going to
mind
fix
that. I don't.
It's
mind
not going to fix the issue totally, but I think some of these schools, the shootings could have been detected earlier if they were equipped with the right surveillance in the schools. But because of the fact you don't want to bring down the property value of your community, you don't do these things. That was the whole thing with Parkland, Florida.
Keep going.
You know, he says, summing up, Joe says, if I had one bad kid, you gather the parent, and you take the parents away from the 2 or 3 good kids they have. It depends on the situation.
Depends on the situation.
It depends on the situation. Why is that one bad kid bad?
If you mess up once with your kid, if your kid does something wrong, if you beat one of your kids but they're nice to the other kids, does that mean that you should just have that one kid taken away from you? I mean,
it's so many. It's like you said, there's so many layers there. You got to look at the dynamics of the family. You have to look at why is the kid acting out? Where's that disconnect? We talked about it a couple weeks ago. What is the disconnect in the household with the parent and the child? There's something there. Some kids feel like they're not getting enough attention at home.
Yep.
Some kids are jealous or envious over the other sibling who gets more attention.
Yep.
It's so many variables there. That still comes down to there's answers that can be answered within the home. These can be identified.
Inner city schools have metal detectors. They don't have as many issues. Put detectors in all schools. Why not?
Well, that's been my argument. That's been my whole issue since they started doing metal detectors. I'm like, man, I remember when Success Tech had their shooting, the metal detectors was boom, and there were no issue. This guy in Geauga County in Chardon shot up all these people. They don't want to put the metal detectors up. I don't know if they have them now, but they didn't want to do it then. You remember that?
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many ways that you can try to fix this, and it doesn't get handled properly because they're worried about money, property tax. You know what I'm saying? The value of your community.
Yeah. Well, I want to go to a sports issue because it overlaps into culture here.
Okay.
COVID is been a big topic, an increasingly bigger topic as more infections and more people are hospitalized. And we were all scared of Omicron. Apparently, Omicron is less fatal but more contagious. I don't know. The NFL has had a lot of COVID issues. We were just we're marking online before we came live, looking at the list of players for every team. Wow, we got teams with 12, 18, 24, 30 players missing. The Browns are one of them, our dear beloved Browns. And we blame, I think both of us agree, we blame on the NFL rules about this because as Baker Mayfield tweeted out, they test us afterwards, after practice.
Yeah.
So what are you doing here? Why don't they test us when you first enter the building? And it appears as if the NFL, whatever system the NFL is doing, I don't know all the specifics. Whatever they're doing is just not working. It is not working.
Yeah.
When you got like 11 starters, 14 starters that the Browns are going to miss. That's going to be for these teams very difficult. And it comes like a lot of these teams are fighting for playoff positions. A lot of these coaches are going to be fighting for jobs. If they lose a game here because of, we had all these people missing because of COVID. It's significant. It's significant.
Well, Baker like really put it on the line. He was like saying, I mean, he's usually when you criticize the league, you're come to some type of repercussions. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes
Mhm.
you're fined but he was like actually caring about a player's safety would mean delaying this game, while it's continuing at this rate. But to
Mhm.
say you won't test vaccinated players if they don't have symptoms, then to pull this randomly doesn't make any sense. He said, "Tell me if this makes sense. No testing this morning. Then you let our team gather for practice, then show up after practice to test the team. Something seems off here." So he's calling out the NFL big time.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know, he's calling. Then their list is growing. It's like over 20.
I don't
Um,
know what the Browns are starting at quarterback today. Well, I'm sorry. Their game has been delayed until Monday, but
Monday,
Baker
5 o'clock.
Mayfield and
Well,
Case Keenum are out. So
they're hoping
who's
one of them be
playing
back
freaking
though.
quarterback?
Well, one of them may be back. That's why the delay because you got to
Oh,
have
okay.
like two
Okay.
negative
All
tests.
right.
You have to
All
have two negative tests. But here's a video talking about what we're just this whole thing with COVID.
right. Okay.
Sports leagues around the U.S. are feeling the impact of rising positive cases. The NFL postponing 3 of this weekend's games after outbreaks led to more than 150 players on the COVID-19 reserve list in just the past 5 days. The Raiders versus the Browns, Washington versus the Eagles, and Seahawks versus Rams games have all been moved to early next week after the Browns, Washington, and the Rams saw a surge in cases among their players and staff as the NFL updates their COVID protocols. We're now joined by USA Today's Sports Plus senior NFL insider and CBS Sports, Josina Anderson, who broke the news today about the postponements. Now, the NFL knew they had a problem earlier in the week when the Cleveland Browns quarterback and head coach both tested positive. But when did things get more serious? Do you think we're going to see any more postponements this weekend?
Well, it became more serious when the outbreak just became more plentiful, not just with one team, but with multiple teams, as you mentioned. And the league really was trying to resist any change as far as postponement of games like they did in 2020. Really want to just show that they have learned a lot from the pandemic last year. And also just with the use of vaccinations across the leagues, really wanting to show that their incentivizing of the players was working. But when you start getting into the 100+ player positive number that you mentioned, which is a record in such a short period of time, at some point, you're going to have to address it because then it becomes a game integrity issue, whether a team can just field, a proper roster, especially in December football, where the playoffs are on the line. And so they made the bend today, especially after long negotiations with the NFLPA, who went into this season asking the NFL to really modify the protocols at the outset of the season and do daily testing. But it resisted. It did go from 2 weeks to 1 week for fully vaccinated players, and it has maintained that cadence. But this week in North Texas, with the owners' meetings, they did make some adjustments that culminated in the postponements that we see today.
So, Josina, when it comes to the players, does the NFL or the teams have a real handle on who's been fully vaccinated and who's been boosted?
Well, they know who's vaccinated and they know who is boosted, and they also know who is unvaccinated. I really think that the question really comes down to when is somebody infected? And when there's such a large period of time between testing as there is when you are having fully vaccinated players in the building going not being tested, then it allows a large period where you don't know their status. And I do believe, in addition to like the rest of society, with the holidays and the bye weeks in the sports leagues, that in addition to the testing cadence being what I just mentioned, really contributed to this spike happening in the NFL. And it's really curious because even though they've made adjustments, they haven't changed that. And also one thing they did do is make it easier for fully vaccinated players who do test positive to actually test out and come back to games, so long as they have now 1 negative test instead of 2. And as we do know, you're trying to have safety protocols minded, but at the same time run a business. And sometimes those two things intersect but don't go together.
Deep, man. NFL's on you got the clock is on there, man. They on the clock.
They got to change
right.
those. They got to change the testing policy to every day.
Yeah.
when you enter the
So
building, and it's just gotten out of hand. So it's going to be hard
yeah,
for these teams to field teams.
you want to go into the bottom line right now, or what do you
Yes.
got going? We got like about 4 minutes.
Yes. So what's yours? What's yours?
What's my
What's your
bottom
bottom
line?
line? Yeah.
Let me see. What's my bottom line today? I'm trying to think. I just want everybody to just be safe right now, man. Be safe and think wisely. You know, use wisdom.
Okay.
I think a lot of things we talked about today. It was a lot of stuff we touched on today, and even in those conversations, things can be misinterpreted, and I think people can respond in a negative response just from our conversation today.
You
And
think
I think
so?
that,
I hope not.
yeah, I mean, us criticizing the Trump supporter the way we did,
Oh, okay.
you know, us criticizing school districts on how they handle, you know, the racial issues that we see in the NFL and different places.
Okay.
Everybody doesn't like what we say, the conversation, no matter if it's my truth or your truth, you know. So I say be safe out here. And also people move with wisdom, you know, think before you speak, you know, look at the layers peel back the layers on a topic and not just respond because of your own surface feelings, you know. And that's basically my bottom line. You know, let's start off. We're going into another year now. Let's lead into this year with some wisdom, man.
Okay. That was deep. That was good. That was good. I hope that nothing I said was offending anyone, but I tried to say it the way I see it. And
Yeah.
my bottom line is, first of all, Spider-Man No Way Home, fantastic.
Oh, is it really?
If you have, it was great. It's great. If you have any desire to see it, go see it. Go see it. Go see it twice. It's great. My bottom line is about Christmas, and just that you would have a peaceful, that you be a peaceful holiday season, that you would get some rest, that you spend some time with family, that you would find some joy this holiday season and be grateful for this year, for the blessings of this past year, and to look forward and to think boldly for the next year. Think boldly, think big. Why not? Why not? There's nothing like the present to be bold and to do something that you always wanted to do something that you believe is right, and or do something you always believed in. So have a happy holidays, everyone out there, and may peace be with you.
Yep. Happy holidays, everybody. Take care. And we are out, and we will catch you. What is it? January. We're doing one for New Year's.
We need to find an alternative day. I think we should find a New Year's wrap up show sometime. A special, a bottom line special or something maybe. We'll talk about it. We'll keep you posted. How's that?
Stay tuned to the next bottom line.